Have you ever heard of Superman or Batman or maybe even Spider-Man before? I'm sure that most of you have. But I bet you had never heard of these fun facts on some of these superheroes. According to Matthew Manning in his web article, 10 Things About Spider-Man You Might Not Know, which was published in March of 2015, he first didn't appear until an 11-page story in Amazing Fantasy number 15 in 1962. So Spider-Man didn't even get his own comic book until the next year in 1963. Another fun fact about superheroes, which I'm sure you guys haven't heard before, is that Superman couldn't fly at first. He actually could only jump great distances, which leads to the phrase, could leap tall buildings in a single bound. So he wasn't gifted with the gift of flight. And this came from an article from Mike Devlin in May 2014 called 10 Things You Might Not Know About Superman. Why am I mentioning these silly facts about superheroes? It's because I love comic books. I love all things superheroes. I collected them as a kid. I still have them in mint condition. I even wanted to be a comic book artist. And unfortunately, my talent and skills didn't lead to me being an artist as a career. But again, I love all things superheroes and comic books. What I want to discuss with you today is that there are 4 distinct stages or eras, so to speak, in the history of comic books. The first one being the Golden Age, the second one being the Silver Age, then the Bronze Age, and then finally the Modern Age of comic books. And so, first let's talk about the Golden Age. There is a July 2014 article on pbs.org called The Golden Age of Comic Books. And in this, it discusses the superheroes that came about during this Golden Age of comics, which is, according to this article, between the years of 1938 to the years of 1956. Out of these years were major characters that were born: Superman, The Flash, Captain America, Batman. Really, Superman was the first superhero that came about in 1938, which launched this golden age of comic books. And it was a time of heroism. It was a time during World War II. That's why Captain America was so popular. It was a time when these kinds of heroes really took off, and these ideas of logical plot twists and comic book heroes came into the hearts and minds of most of America and throughout the world. After the war was over, these ideas of heroism really kind of died away. And there was also, according to the same article of the Golden Age, there was the creation of the comic book code. And the comic book code basically limited what artists could do and the types of stories they could do, which then ultimately ushered in the Silver Age. And according to this web seminar that was given, which is called The Fourth Wall by Louis Lovehog, he said that the Silver Age was a silly, campy time. And actually, the phrase that he says is, "Today we once again venture forth into the deepest depths of insanity known as the Silver Age. When comics cost 12 cents, Superman could juggle planets with his pinky finger, and stories didn't have to follow anything like logic or natural plot development." And so the Silver Age was a really silly time that was mostly geared towards children. The years, according to this article, of the Silver Age were the years of 1956 to 1970. It's when Marvel Comics really took off with the Fantastic Four. We had heroes like Superman, we had heroes like Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk. A lot of heroes that we know today. But in 1970, something curious happened. The Bronze Age came about. There's a September 2009 article, which is titled The Bronze Age, from comicvine.com, that says that this time period was between 1970 and 1985. And it was really brought forth ideas of social relevance. The X-Men came about during this time, and the X-Men were almost a symbolism of the hatred and the persecution that minorities during the 60s were going through, because the X-Men were hated as mutants. The other thing that came about during the Bronze Age is that you had a lot of ethnic superheroes. You had Luke Cage, Power Man, who was an African-American superhero, and his sidekick was an Asian superhero called Iron Fist. And lastly, there was a time of realism that came about. No longer did you see the silliness that you saw in the Silver Age, but there was a lot of realistic artistry coming about. And lastly, I wanted to discuss the Modern Age. And the Modern Age really was birthed around the years of 1985. Comicvine.com, the same article that was discussing the Silver Age of comics, they also talk about the Modern Age of comics And it was characterized by reboots and universe shakeovers, both in DC and in Marvel Comics. And so you had the deaths of Superman, you had the death of the Flash, the death of Supergirl. There was a grittiness to the modern age which still exists today. And so the 4 ages we discussed, there's the Golden Age, there's the Silver Age, there's the Bronze Age, and the Modern Age. We've seen all of this come into light with modern blockbuster movies that we've seen, like the Avengers and Superman. And so the ultimate question I have for all of you as we briefly wrap this up is, what kind of superhero are you, and who inspires you in the comic book world? Thanks for your time.